I'll ask you to please continue eating, but we are going to hear from our keynote speaker at this time. We are privileged to be joined by the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for North Central Europe in the Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs, Judith Garber. I will offer a brief biographical background on Judy, and we will hear from her on some broader topics than those that we have focused on wittingly or unwittingly this morning for our Black Sea Conference. Deputy Assistant Secretary Judith Garber assumed her duties in this position in October of 2007, and in this capacity, she oversees bilateral relations with Nordic, Baltic, and Central European countries. Prior to this position, she had served as Director of the Office of North Central Europe, which oversees U.S. relations with the Czech Republic, with Hungary, Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Bulgaria, and Slovenia. So she comes here with extensive professional background in the area in which we are immersed today. Prior to joining the Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs, Ms. Garber served in the department's Economic Bureau as the Director for Development Finance, where she worked on donor coordination issues such as Haiti reconstruction, tsunami relief, and Pakistan earthquake reconstruction. She has served previously in Spain, Prague, Mexico City, and Tel Aviv. And prior to joining the Foreign Service, Ms. Garber worked at the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve and the Department of the Treasury. It's a pleasure to welcome, to discuss the topic of U.S. perspectives in the Black Sea region, Deputy Assistant Secretary of State Judith Garber.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction. First of all, I'd like to thank the Woodrow Wilson Center, this International Center for Black Sea Studies, the Center for Transatlantic Relations, and the Austrian Marshall Plan for arranging this event on Black Sea perspectives today. I understand a lot of the discussion this morning came down to energy security and the role of Russia in the region, and I think it might be very useful, as we were talking about earlier, to perhaps broaden the discussion a little bit, because the U.S. interest in the region is actually much broader than just those topics. I was actually thinking on the way over this afternoon, that it would be very good to be doing this on the shores of the Black Sea, given how warm it is and how nice that breeze is. So as you're all eating your warm lunch, if you can think about the nice, cool sea air as we're going through this, I think that would be very helpful. The Black Sea region is an area of growing significance for the U.S. and the transatlantic foreign policy community. The Black Sea lies at a strategic crossroads of geography and culture, where Russia intersects with the European Union, where energy producers of Eurasian energy connect to the energy consumers of Central and Western Europe, where Islamic traditions meet Christian traditions, and where Europe intersects with Eurasia and the broader Middle East. The Black Sea region is one of considerable strategic importance to the United States. We now have 3 NATO allies bordering the Black Sea: Turkey, Romania, and Bulgaria. 2 European Union members are Black Sea littoral states. The Black Sea region, as this morning, comes up in the crossroads of any high-level policy debate over energy security, with planned routes to bring Central Asian gas to Europe. We have also become increasingly concerned about the region as a conduit for smugglers, whether we're talking contraband, drugs, trafficking in persons, or worse, weapons of mass destruction. U.S. interests in the Black Sea are focused on advancing democratic and market reforms in the region, on strengthening economic ties, energy diversity, and a cleaner, more sustainable environment to preserve the Black Sea's natural beauty and resources. Think of that cool sea breeze right now. And improving security throughout the region. At its foundation, it flows from the same goals we have worked so hard to achieve in Europe for the past 50 years: peace, democracy, and prosperity. Our approach can be best described as an effort to promote cooperation among the countries in the region. We are heartened that a regional identity has begun to develop with organizations such as the Organization of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation, more commonly known as BSEC, and we hope to see this type of regional cooperation strengthen in the future. The European Union also increasingly recognizes the importance of the Black Sea with its policy called Black Sea Synergy, and I believe you'll be hearing this afternoon from the Austrian ambassador a little bit more about those perspectives. Both the United States and the European Union agree that a coordinated policy effort in the region is essential in addressing some of the more pressing issues and challenges we face today: Iran, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, counterterrorism, and of course, energy security. Reaching out to countries of the Black Sea region to promote democracy, economic growth consistent with sustainable environment, and regional security are the natural next step, we believe, in a transatlantic vision of a Europe free and whole. By focusing cooperation in these three areas, we envision a Black Sea region that will be a nexus of security, energy diversification and growing trade, and political and economic freedom linking Europe with the Caspian Basin, Central Asia, and the broader Middle East. That is our goal. We are supporting and continue to support some concrete projects in this region toward those objectives. And I'd like to highlight a little bit of the work that we're doing in each of these three broad areas. A commitment to democratic values is the pillar of U.S. foreign policy in the Black Sea region. Turkey is a strong and stable democracy, as are Romania and Bulgaria. The Rose Revolution in Georgia and the Orange Revolution in Ukraine are symbolic of the progress that these two countries have made toward building participatory democracies. Georgia's May parliamentary elections were another step forward in building democratic institutions by offering voters a real opportunity to choose their representatives from a wide array of choices, and showed a clear improvement over January's presidential elections. The U.S. continues to support Georgia and Ukraine's aspiration for further integration with Euro-Atlantic institutions. Other states in the region are also putting into place stronger democratic institutions. When we speak of democratic values, what are we talking about? We're referring to open political systems, free and fair elections, and importantly, a vibrant and independent media landscape, which are the prerequisites for a strong civil society. To promote these values, the U.S. has provided $10 million to fund the Black Sea Trust in partnership with the German Marshall Fund, to promote cross-border and civil society non-governmental organizations throughout the region through a series of small grants. The first of those grants are now being issued, I'm very pleased to report. We have also supported a number of what we call resident legal advisor programs in countries including Russia, Ukraine, Bulgaria, and Turkey. These advisors provide technical assistance to their counterparts on all current issues relating to rule of law and the implementation of international best legal practices. They work on reforming criminal procedural codes, establishing jury trials, and any other projects that can help to improve the judicial systems in these countries. In addition, the Department of Justice has recently been providing assistance on legislative drafting and training in many of these same countries. Respect for rule of law is also an essential element of our efforts in the economic realm. Rule of law is a needed element of a market economy and an open trading and investment regime. It goes hand in hand with greater economic development, so our efforts to promote rule of law also form part and parcel of our efforts to improve the investment climate in the region. We are working with the nations of the Black Sea region to support individual and cooperative efforts to fight corruption and build transparent and accountable institutions of government. Just today, we have representatives from the U.S. Office of Government Ethics in Bucharest working with the Romanian government on programs to improve accountability and anti-corruption measures in Romania. And we have undertaken similar programs elsewhere in the region. Part of good governance is also good stewardship of the environment. We have recently been using our observer status in BSEC to promote environmental awareness, such as a seminar on sharing best practices across the region, which took place in September. We are looking to build on those efforts and take them to the next step. We are also working to promote energy connectivity in this area, not just the energy security question. USAID is currently funding a project to analyze how to integrate the high-voltage electrical transmission systems throughout the region, and all the countries of the Black Sea littoral states are participating. And of course, we are actively promoting diversification of sources of energy across the region and transit routes, including support of the Nabucco project. In the security realm, we are working with Black Sea countries bilaterally and through our NATO alliance in several areas: maritime cooperation, border security, aerial surveillance, and civil military emergency preparedness. By focusing on transformation and building niche capabilities, Black Sea nations can better address emerging regional threats together. We applaud existing regional cooperation security measures such as Black Sea 4, Operation Black Sea Harmony, and the Black Sea Border Security Initiative. We encourage Black Sea nations to build upon such efforts and focus on niche capabilities to support a stable and secure region. We see the U.S. and NATO and the NATO countries of the Black Sea region in a supporting role, working together. We are committed to working toward a more secure Black Sea region. We particularly welcome a counterterrorism initiative called Operation Black Sea Harmony. The Turkish government has taken the lead on this program to share intelligence on sea traffic among all the coastal states. We are actively encouraging countries around the Black Sea to take part in this security operation, which involves the monitoring and movement of vessels and the interdiction and boarding of suspect vessels. And we welcome Russia's recent decision to formally join the program. It is an excellent example of how countries can all work together in the region to improve security around the Black Sea. On the civilian side, the United States helped to design and bring into being, and this is a mouthful, the Southeast European Cooperative Initiative Regional Center for Combating Transborder Crime. It doesn't really have a very catchy acronym, but we call it the SECI Center. This SECI Center brings together law enforcement personnel from countries around the region to share information on transnational organized crime and to coordinate multinational operations against it. This organization has been so successful that we are now working with the European Union in its support. Similarly, we have supported the governments of Georgia, Ukraine, as well as Azerbaijan and Moldova in establishing, under the auspices of the Organization for Democracy and Economic Development, more commonly known as GUAM, a virtual law enforcement center to promote information sharing and coordination against transborder criminal activities. We also provide a wide array of law enforcement training and technical assistance to most of the countries in the region to support policing and criminal justice sector reform and modernization and improving border controls. We're working with individual governments in the region, right now in Ukraine, to bolster their own ability to detect and thwart nuclear smuggling. Again, an area of concern to all of us. In conclusion, the United States is committing to achieving peace, security, and prosperity across the Black Sea. We will continue to work with all countries of the region, individually and jointly as they wish, regional organizations like BSEC, and other partners such as the European Union to achieve these goals. At the recent NATO summit in Bucharest, leaders of the alliance noticed the importance of the Black Sea in their closing communique. And I quote, "We reaffirm the continued importance of the Black Sea region for Euro-Atlantic security. In this regard, we welcome the progress in consolidation of regional ownership through effective use of existing initiatives and mechanisms. The alliance will continue to support, as appropriate, these efforts guided by regional priorities and based on transparency, complementarity, and inclusiveness in order to develop dialogue and cooperation among the Black Sea states and with the alliance. And it is this inclusiveness that we keep in mind when we seek to promote our goals in the region. We believe that to do so not only benefits the countries of the Black Sea region, but also is in the strategic interest of the United States. So I'll be happy to take any questions, but I thought it'd be very useful to do a broader vision than the narrower focus that I understand was the focus this morning. How are we doing this? No? Oh, you'll point rather than me? Okay. Ignore the way I pointed.
Oh, you can handle it, I'm sure. very susceptible to oil pollution. And I understand there is a lot of regional cooperation
Oil pollution.
to combat oil pollution. And I believe the United States has contributed. I'm sorry, do you want me to repeat that?
I heard, but I don't know if your colleagues on the other side of the room could hear.
May I repeat it then? The Black Sea is very susceptible to oil pollution. Mm-hmm. And I believe there is a lot of regional coordination going on in that area. And I believe the United States has contributed a great deal to helping in that regard. Could you comment on how the United States has cooperated in combating oil pollution in the Black Sea?
We have worked on projects on oil pollution, and in particular, we recently pulled together an effort to look at emergency response amongst all the littoral states should you have accidents, such as the one that happened in the straits between Ukraine and Russia. In other words, how you could get the countries in the region to work together to combat and clean up any particular crisis that you have. In order for you to have continued sustainable development in the region and fight against. And we also firmly believe that these types of environmental questions are in the interest of every country that's around the region, as well as in the interest of the United States, and is a perfect way to promote more cooperation amongst the states of the region. So thank you.
There are other questions? Yes.
John Roberts, are there any educational programs that would link schools, universities, institutions in one Black Sea country with comparable institutions all around the Black Sea? Is there anything that is being done to make ordinary people feel that they are part of a Black Sea community rather than simply being on different sides of as it were, a barrier rather than the highway?
That's a great question and a great comment. I'm not aware of anything that we're doing right now as part of the 3 pillars, but I also, given the wonderful great beast that is the United States, wouldn't want to exclude that we're not working in that area. But I believe the European Union is looking at some of those particular questions. But again, I would encourage you to address the same question to the Austrian ambassador this afternoon. There's some work in BSEC. I stand corrected. There's some work in BSEC.
Yep.
I have a question that you're in a uniquely good position to answer. You've established a strong United States interest in the Black Sea. But as you've also indicated, and as we all know, the countries fall into different categories. Some are in the EU, some are in NATO, some are not. Within the State Department, is there any group or organization whose responsibility it is to look at the region as a whole, as a region, in order to help us produce a coherent, effective policy for the countries which admittedly fall into a lot of different areas?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes and no. And I'll explain why it's both. We have a group within the State Department that meets regularly to look at how we're implementing our Black Sea strategy. We have a group on the interagency level that does the same thing, that meets at least quarterly. We also have internal websites where everybody can feed in and see what we're doing. And clearly I didn't study that well enough before I came, or I would have known the answer on the education question, where all this information is available to those of us working on it. However, if you take it, is there, if you had to, the famous question that Henry Kissinger gave to the European Union, is there one phone number that I can call to get somebody who can tell me what's going on in the U.S. government on the Black Sea? I think, unfortunately, the answer is still no. That said, in a time of shrinking resources in the State Department, we are looking at creating fellow positions that, at least within the Bureau of European and Eurasian Affairs, that will have someone to fill that role. And we actually have someone that will be coming in for a period of 6 months to do so. We're hoping that that will grow into just what you're talking about, if not at a very senior level, at a working level, where we will have one person who will be coordinating these efforts, because we feel that our strategy can be that much more effective if there's an individual that's doing nothing else but then Black Sea going forward. But it is a funny mix of yes, because we have standing groups that all work together on it, and no, because we still lack that one phone number that you can call.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you a question regarding both a conflation and contradiction of issues vis-a-vis Turkey. On the one hand, Turkey, as you said, is a critical, pivotal, geopolitically strategic country vis-a-vis energy security and security issues toward the Middle East. But on the other hand, Turkey is also the largest receiving countries in human trafficking from the northern countries, including the Russian Federation, Ukraine, and Moldova in particular. What could you comment on efforts at the U.S. government and its vision towards ceasing that in Turkey? And does the government sort of diminish the importance to that in relation to other key issues and leave it more to the International Organization on Migration?
Well, I think part of our overall strategy is just these types of transnational smuggling issues that we're trying to address. And we include Turkey in our efforts in that area. So yes, this is a critical importance. And in our view, you can't have an either or. These are all elements of the strategy I described that we're working very hard on trying to achieve. So we do see that as an area where the governments can definitely work better together. Thank you.
We have time for one last question. Yes, the gentleman here.
I understand that the U.S. is doing a lot with the countries in the Black Sea region, but this morning we heard a lot about how in the history and even today, Russia has a lot of interest there too. Are we working with Russia in any way to coordinate our efforts in this area?
I think how our coordination with Russia goes on efforts in this area depends on the particular topic and the particular project under consideration. Part of the pillars of our strategy and what we try to do is let it be demand-driven. So in other words, while we want to work on most of these areas and projects with everybody, we recognize that there are some that are more appropriately done country by country, with one or two countries. Again, given another questioner's particular description, one's in NATO, one's not, someone's in part of the European Union, someone's not. It's not always possible to get everybody working together. There are areas where, in the economic area particularly, some of the activities in the BSEC where we work very closely with Russia. Russia has hosted BSEC summits in which we've worked together on the agendas. There are other areas where we might be more cross purposes or not as much. But we believe it's extremely important in forging more regional cooperation and regional identity to work together where we can, but recognize that sometimes it may be more appropriate to do so on an individual or just one or two country basis.
Judy, thank you very much. She has to connect with a car frying out on 14th Street. So I want to thank you for being here, and we appreciate it very much. Let's everybody give Judy Garber a hand.
Thank you.